Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back into the Bears Den, an NFL podcast with the Chicago Bears first focus. I'm your host, Alex. Here today, I wanted to come on here and discuss something that is kind of really important to me and something that has really kind of been frustrating me over the last really month and a half, I guess, with the national media, a lot of the big TV shows that talk about football and, their segments on the Bears and Caleb Williams. And I want to discuss the topic of how much blame should Caleb Williams be responsible for the Bears, disappointing season. And I wanted to come on here as someone who has watched every single snap, really of the Bears since since I was a young kid, and who watched some Caleb Williams at USC, not every single game, but a decent amount. And the overall narrative that has really kind of spiked and exploded over the last 2 weeks or so. That Caleb Williams has been a disappointment, and he's to blame for a lot of the struggles and uh, things like that, and he just hasn't lived up to the hype. Is um, It's really just asinine, to be honest. I mean, when we look at what Caleb Williams has done this season, right? We look at his stats. He's currently sitting at an 87.4 rating on the year, which is it's okay, right? Nothing special. 3,400 yards, 62% completion percentage, 19 touchdowns, 6 picks. So when the media comes out and says that he has been a disappointment, and I see big media Bears people, I'm not going to name any names, but I see people that used to be on 670 The Score, um, and Chicago radio stations that have moved up into bigger shows and things like that, saying that he has been disappointing, he has been a disappointment this season. That just blows my mind, and it's just not true. Caleb's having one of the best statistical Bears seasons of any Bears quarterback ever, and yes, the bar is low, but the kid's a rookie and he's already set multiple records. And this is a season that we haven't seen from a quarterback in, a long time, right? Really since Jay Cutler. I know Mitch had a couple good seasons in there, but so to say for one that Caleb has been a disappointment is just it's a disgusting statement, to be honest. When I hear them then ask the question, how much is he to blame for the Bears' struggles? Of course, Caleb Williams is responsible for some of the struggles. He does deserve some blame. He hasn't played a perfect season. I mean, this past week against Seattle, I was going to come on here and do my normal breakdown of the game, but there's no point because that game sucked. But they scored 3 points. Neither quarterback combined for 300 yards passing. The Bears scored 3 points. So he, of course, deserves to take some blame for that offensive performance. But with that being said, Caleb also threw a touchdown in that game that was taken off the board by his left tackle, or his left guard, excuse me. Coaching matters. Stable coaching matters. The pieces around you matter. Ownership, management matters. For years, we have seen Washington, be this kind of just dumpster fire of an organization and a team. And every once in a while, because they're in the NFC East, and the NFC East for 20 years now has never had a repeat winner. Uh, every once in a while they would have a good season, win the division, right? In 2020, I think they won the division with a losing record, right? So it's not like they were good. It's just the rest of the division was so terrible. We saw them be bad for years, and then Dan Snyder sold the team. They got the coach right. They got the offensive coordinator seemingly right. And in 1 year, they're going from a 4-win team, I believe, 4 or 5 win team, to maybe an 11-win team, and they're in the playoffs. Ownership matters. Stable coaching matters. When you look at all the quarterbacks this season, Caleb, of course, will get compared to the rookie class, as he should. Caleb has arguably the best stats out of any of the rookies. But Bo Nix is in position to be in the playoffs. Why? Because he has a Hall of Fame head coach, a Super Bowl winning head coach that trusts him, that allows him to play his game, that can call easy plays for him to get him going, and then allow him to just play free, trusted football. Cliff Kingsbury can design simple plays to get Jaden Daniels going, get him on the move the pocket. And Cliff Kingsbury trusts Jaden Daniels. And Dan Quinn trusts Jaden Daniels. We saw it, I think it was week 2 or week 3 against Cincinnati, where Jaden Daniels was yelling at Dan Quinn on the sideline. He wanted to go for it. And Dan Quinn said, okay, fine, let's go for it. And they got it. He trusted his player. He trusted his quarterback. And then we look at Drake May, who's in New England, which is a dumpster fire. It's a circus. Gerard Mayo might get fired after just one season. And his numbers are fine. He's got the worst roster out of any of the rookie class. And his numbers are fine. But you can only overcome so much, right? And I think the media, and more importantly, Bears fans, this past offseason did overhype the team. There was a lot of momentum built from the ending of last year, right? The Bears had won like 5 of their last 6 games. Things were rolling. The defense was looking fantastic. And we expected the defense to kind of carry over, right? So that with that defensive performance, with then better quarterbacking play, the Bears, in theory, would be a better team. And while the defense was decent to start the season, they kind of fell apart, and coaching really kind of got in the way. I mean, let's think about this season. Let's go back, right? There was a couple weeks period where Caleb Williams had like 10 touchdowns, 0 picks, like 110 passer rating, was lighting teams up. Bears scored 35 in back-to-back games against Carolina and Jacksonville. And I get it, those are 2 of the worst teams in the league. But that's what good teams do. They blow out bad teams. And then coaching got in the way. Coaching got in the way of the Washington game. Caleb Williams led them back after a rough first half, led them back and scored what would have been and what should have been the game-winning touchdown with 19 seconds left. Against Green Bay, Caleb Williams brought them back, marched them down the field for the game-winning field goal, and the field goal got blocked. Why? Because of coaching. Because Matt Eberflus didn't want to run another play to get closer. Matt Eberflus didn't want to align the football on the correct hash for Cairo Santos. Coaching got in the way. Coaching got in the way after down 2 scores with 1:20 left. Caleb Williams forced overtime against Minnesota. Now, their drive, the offense's drive, was not good in overtime. I think Caleb was sacked twice. But the defense gave up like an 80-yard drive in overtime right after, right? So it can go both ways. Offense should have won the game. Defense should have been able to make a stop and get the ball back for the offense. Caleb Williams, against arguably the best team in the league in Detroit, marched them down the field in field goal range. Coaching got in the way. Offensive line got in the way. Tavin Jenkins hands to the face penalty, knocks them out of field goal range. And then the clock debacle. I mean, I can do this for more games, right? There's been games where he hasn't played well. The Arizona game, not a good game. That was on the offense. It was on the defense too, but the offense was not productive. The New England game, Bears scored 3 points. Caleb deserves blame for that. Not all the blame, but he deserves some blame. reasonable Bears fans can sit here and realize that this is one of the best quarterbacking seasons we've seen from a Bear ever. And we can also understand that he hasn't played perfect. He's a rookie. These media people that expect him to play perfect because he was the first overall pick, should not have their jobs on TV, on national TV, because they're creating these narratives and implanting these ideas in the minds of these young fans that this kid has been a disappointment. When in reality, he's had the worst situation out of all the rookies, right? Drake May's roster is bad, and his coaching is probably not great. But Drake May's not on his third coach of the year. Drake May didn't get to sit behind a veteran. Granted, it was Jacoby Brissett. Still, he got some time to learn. Caleb was thrust into a circus. An absolute mess. He's on his third coach of the year. So for the media to say that this kid has been a disappointment is it's very frustrating. And I get it, right? The expectations were the Bears would probably be in the playoffs. So that part is disappointing, but that's a team effort. It's a team game. We knew that the Bears would struggle at times. We knew that Caleb Williams would struggle. He's a rookie. And of course there's areas where Caleb needs to be better. You know, at the point of the season where the Bears were scoring 35 points, and there was that really good stretch of like 4 or 5 games. Caleb was playing on time in the offense. That was when there was a lot of they're getting up to the offensive line quick. He's scanning, he's making adjustments, he's changing the plays, whatever. And that's when he was really efficient and he was playing on time. And since really Thomas Brown has taken over, I don't know if Thomas Brown has kind of eliminated that. I remember him mentioning in one of the earlier press conferences that he thought there was too much, communication going on pre-snap. So maybe he's to blame for eliminating that. But since that's been gone, Caleb has not played on time as much or as well. And that's a problem because you have to be able to play on time in this league. So that's something that needs to be worked on. But that also might be coaching. But when we look at, the way this roster was constructed as well, Ryan Poles deserves, in my eyes, the majority of the blame. Like 95% of the blame. Because he's the one that kept Matt Eberflus. So that's problem number one. Problem number two, he built this offensive line. I don't know if you guys have seen the graphic. There's a graphic floating around where, I think it was from Thursday Night Football. It was like the offensive line that the Bears were running this past week. And it was like 2 undrafted guys, 2, like backups or whatever, and then Darnell Wright. We know that Darnell Wright is good, and he will probably be our right tackle for years to come. But the Bears have the second cheapest offensive line in the league, and they're on a bunch of backups and undrafted guys. And when you're the general manager and you shop at the bargain bin at this position, you get what you pay for. He's been sacked 67 times. Are all of the sacks on the offensive line? Nope. I can think of probably 4 or 5 right now where Caleb was just trying to do some of his USC stuff. It didn't work. There was the one week 1 against Tennessee. There was one, I think, this past week that was kind of on him. So, of course, not all the sacks on the offensive line, but the majority, probably 80%. I mean, this past week, there's a play going around. I don't know if any of you guys watched the film, but if you did, you saw it, where the Seahawks rushed 4 players. And they had 2 free runners. Think about that. The offensive line is compiled of 5 guys. Seahawks had 4. That means the Bears had 1 extra blocker. And Seattle had 2 free runners at Caleb Williams. That's the scenario that this kid's in. And still, he's going to end up with 3,500 yards, 20 touchdowns, single-digit picks. He hasn't been a disappointment in my eyes. To me, this is what I expected. I expected to see the best season of quarterbacking, or one of the best that I've seen in my life, with the rookie mistakes, with some of the dumb sacks that could have been avoided, with, missed throws, right? With the insane highlight plays. This is what I expected. Now, I expected more wins. They could have had a lot more wins, right? I blame coaching on 4 of the losses, right? So you take that, they're at 8 wins, right? That would have been a better season than last year. And then if they were to win those games, who knows how different the season would look. So the media will want to come on here and they'll want to blame Caleb Williams for everything, say he's the reason the Bears are struggling. That's fine. But they don't watch all the games. They don't watch every snap. I asked, a lot of these big media people, name me 2 or 3 offensive linemen that played this last week. They couldn't do it. Because all offseason the story was he's going into the best situation for a number 1 pick of all time. And we thought that was the case. Clearly that was misjudged, but that's what the media still hears and remembers. So that means that this is all Caleb's fault. The kid will be a superstar. And I just pray that the Bears get the head coach right. Ben Johnson, please come to Chicago. We need you, bro. We need you. As always, this is a longer video. I appreciate you guys listening. Please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bear down. Have a good one. Peace.